Minister, good morning to you.
Good morning to you. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you for your time. Minister, earlier this week, RCMP Assistant Commissioner said that the extortion in Surrey is not a crisis. He has since apologized for his comments, but do you have the confidence in Assistant Commissioner's approach to extortion investigations?
So let me be clear that for me, for the Premier, for the province, of course, what we're seeing in terms of extortion, threats, and violence in our communities is a crisis. And I met with the leadership of the BC Extortion Task Force this week and certainly expressed this urgency that we feel, and I know the people of Surrey feel about the ongoing extortion crisis, and expressed our expectations around improvement to policing communications and updates. And I think Assistant Commissioner Brewer was certainly clear to me that he feels the same urgency. And I know, I think after our meeting, he clarified his position to the public. And the work of the task force is vitally important to our province's approach to tackling these crimes. In fact, because of the urgency of these crimes, we convened the task force that includes municipal, provincial, and federal police agencies to ensure there's the coordination necessary to bring criminals to justice and keep our communities safe. There are results that we are seeing in arrest charges and removals from Canada. There is certainly more work to do, and that work is being carried out with urgency as the number one priority, public safety priority for the province.
Minister Surrey's Member of Parliament from Newton, Sukh Aliwal, he has been criticizing the approach of the provincial government and saying that you should be putting CFSEU-BC, the anti-gang unit, in charge of these investigations. What's your response to that? I mean, why is RCMP leading a task force instead of the specialized anti-provincial gang unit, I mean, that we've already got in existence?
Yeah. So the CFSEU, the Combined Forces Special Enforcement Unit, the Anti-Gang, Anti-Organized Crime Task Force, is a key member of the BC Extortion Task Force. They are being brought in and their expertise and their resources on an ongoing basis. And in fact, just yesterday, the province announced an investment of over $600,000 to expand the Provincial Forensic Firearms Lab, which is within and run by CFSEU. So CFSEU is core to the province's response, but it's also important that we have the coordination of Canada Border Service agencies that is really leading to concrete removals and investigations that will lead to more removals. So I don't think it's helpful, and I don't think the public thinks it's helpful for people to point fingers at this time. I think it's time for all levels of government to continue working together with urgency, and that's certainly what the province is committed to doing.
The $600,000 that the province is funding for the gun labs expansion, I mean, that comes into play after a shot is fired. What is the provincial government doing to stop these shots from being fired in the first place? Are we investing more money for cybersecurity? What steps are being taken that these shootings do not happen to begin with?
Yeah, and I think, and you raise a critically important point. That is ultimately we want to see. We want to deter and disrupt violence, and so that's why the investigations that are happening on the ground by police are critically important. We are continuing to surge resources, and so that means wherever intelligence, dictates there needs to be, more officers, visible road checks, use of helicopters, all the things that I've heard that people really want to see are being used so that we can use any and all tools. And certainly we are constantly talking to the federal government about what more they could potentially do to support us in this work.
On helicopters, there have been calls for a dedicated helicopter for the Surrey Police Service. The police chief has also asked for this week. Is the provincial government going to look into that and fund a dedicated helicopter for the Surrey Police Service?
There are 2 helicopters that are used by law enforcement in the Lower Mainland, including in Surrey. And this is something that I spoke with the task force leadership about this week, and police are exploring how these resources can really be maximized and best used to support extortion investigations. I know that the helicopters have been flying the last few nights and will continue to do so. It really sends, I think, an important message to community, which reflects the reality, which is these crimes are the number one priority. They are being resourced. Their investigations are being resourced, and we will continue to use all the tools necessary to move these investigations forward, produce arrests and charges, removals, and to really protect our communities and ensure that these criminals are brought to justice.
So if you say that you're willing to use all the tools that are necessary, and the chief of the Surrey Police Service says that one of those tools, one of those necessary tools is a dedicated helicopter, so would that be deployed for Surrey?
So, as I said, there are helicopters being deployed.
But that's a shared resource, Minister. And from what we have heard, anytime a request is placed, it depends if the helicopter is busy elsewhere. It may not be deployed when it is needed in Surrey, when it is facing this crisis of extortion and shootings.
So, as I said, we're in conversation with all police agencies and levels of government and exploring all tools that they may be considered. So all options are on the table for consideration, but we certainly need to ensure that the resources that we have are being used to the maximum, and that's certainly what we are ensuring.
The money that the provincial government, your ministry, is providing for the gun lab expansion, one of the reasons for that is so that charges can be brought forward quickly, so that if investigations are done swiftly, charges can be brought forward quickly as well, which is a good step. Another roadblock, which we have heard from various sources from time and again, in pressing charges quickly, is the fact that BC is only one of the two provinces in the country where charges can only be recommended by the police, and those are then approved by the BC Prosecution Service. You and I have talked about this in the past as well, but given the current situation, do you think that if the police was given the powers to press the charges, we could probably get a better handle on this crisis? Because when we speak to senior police officials, they say that one of the reasons why Edmonton seems to have had a better handle on this is because the police officers can directly press the charges themselves, and it leads to crucial nimbleness that is needed to deal with these issues. What's your response to that, Minister?
Yeah, and you're right that these crimes that we're seeing now are not only in BC but also in Alberta and Ontario, and those jurisdictions are looking to BC, as a model in terms of how we brought together the task force, and we're in touch about this question about the prosecution with police leadership on an ongoing basis. And there's a special dedicated team of prosecutors that are working specifically on extortion files. And the task force is also coordinating closely with BC Prosecution Service, who is actively briefed on evidence and file statuses throughout the process as the team works towards reports to Crown Counsel. So the workflow between police and prosecution is proceeding as it should and swiftly, and I have not heard any reports of delays because of prosecution service.
But if there is an extra layer that is added before the charges can be pressed, that delay, we lose crucial time in that. I mean, if the police officer is able to press the charges, they would be able to put the conditions on the suspect pretty much right away. Whereas if that file is first sent to the prosecution service, I mean, adding any extra layer to any process only increases the amount of time it's going to take to implement what needs to be implemented, doesn't it, Minister?
So, but the work happening between police and prosecution service is happening, as they go, and so we're not experiencing delays because of that. And also, I think what we also need is cases that secure charges and convictions, and so that people are in jail or held and held to account. And so we want these cases to be successful and these criminals to be off our streets, and that's what we're committed to doing. Any
plans or any intention to provide Surrey with more resources, more policing resources, more boots on the ground, more funding? The funding for the gun lab is great. I mean, it's a shared resource across the province. What's being done dedicatedly for Surrey itself as Surrey grapples with this extortion wave?
So to be clear, the funding for the provincial forensic firearms lab will have a direct impact on our ability, the police's ability to process evidence linked to extortion. So it will have an absolute direct impact. And we are in touch with all police agencies and around what they need. And we have surged resources, and we continue to evaluate what is needed on the ground to ensure that police have the work, have all the tools that they need to do their work, but also so that community members see that visibility of police presence and police agencies. When I talked to police leaders this week, that's something I really emphasized, which I've heard from the community, that that call for increased police presence and regular updates as well. And so I know that the public is looking for that, and that's something that I'm certainly expecting as well.
Surrey's mayor is calling on the federal government to appoint an extortions investigations commissioner who can coordinate all this task, all this work nationally. Do you agree with that suggestion, Minister?
Yes, I had a chance to connect with Mayor Locke this week, and she let me know she would be making that suggestion of the federal government, and I think it's a compelling idea. And as I noted, this requires the close work and cooperation of all levels of government. So I certainly think it's an idea that is worth exploring.
Minister, anything you'd like to say to the 93 unique victims who've been identified, who've been targets of extortion, and all the shootings that have taken place, for those families, for those people, or for somebody who has gotten the calls in the last few days, what would you like to tell them?
Yeah, I'd like people to know that fighting these crimes is the province's #1 public safety priority, and that we will continue to do everything that is needed to investigate these crimes, protect people, and to bring criminals to justice. And I just also want to thank people for their cooperation with police. I think this is so essential to bringing these crimes to an end and to bringing criminals to justice, and really to remind people to not pay extortionists, to report to police, and we will work together to bring these crimes down and to keep our communities safe.
Minister, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Have a good day. Thank you.